Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Massachusetts B again. Black Friday, of course, is here, and I didn't really show this ship justice in the last video, did I? Didn't get the best games for you guys. So it's redemption time, and in fact, it's my best game ever in this ship. I don't know how it happened, but just while streaming, happened to get this game. So, Massachusetts is definitely my pick still for the Black Friday sales. I think I'll upload a video talking about different options tomorrow, more than likely. We'll go over all the options that you guys do have now that they are available. I wasn't really sure if they would bring back all of the Black Friday ships. You know, some of them are rather exclusive, like the Massachusetts, John Bart, Alaska. Things like that aren't available for normal purchase throughout the year. So figured since they're on this massive monetization kick with some of the upcoming stuff for Christmas time, I wasn't totally sure if they would keep some of these very rare ships out of Black Friday even yet, just to make things a little bit more FOMO in this game yet. But hey, Massachusetts is available and it is on sale, and I think that's probably the best ship you can get out of this, in my opinion. Keep in mind, not a huge fan of Jean Bart, but we will go over this later. Massachusetts is the focus for today. This is an amazing battleship. This beginning of this game, we have to deal with an enemy sub, but he's kind of overcommitted, and I think we're going to get him here quite early on. So now it's just a matter of brawling it out against all these battleships. Notice there really aren't cruisers over here. It's just an all-out battleship war, and Massachusetts excels in these situations. Its secondaries are going to do a great job of lighting fires. There we go. There goes the sub. And this ship, with its healing, maneuverability, and pretty solid main guns, is just unbelievably powerful in these situations. So you get the 406mm guns off of a North Carolina, which are very good. However, you do have worse dispersion and worse range on them. And the secondaries here, much like a Georgia, are very, very strong. They're not quite Ohio level. They don't have the same reload or the fire chance, but they're still very, very powerful, as we're going to see. We're going to get an insane amount of damage out of them in this game. And what sets Massachusetts apart from the Georgia specifically, and to the Ohio some extent, is that it has a much smaller superstructure. Georgia eats massive hits to the superstructure, and Massachusetts can too, but it's much less likely. We're also a much smaller ship, more maneuverable. Our turning radius is better than a lot of cruisers at this tier. We have a massive torpedo protection, so we are very, very good at our tier. I think Massachusetts at its tier is better than Georgia at its tier, but I'm not a huge fan of six-gun battleships, as we know, so maybe there's a little bit of bias there. But for me, Massachusetts has been my favorite ship in the game, and having this game again, yeah, it's still probably my favorite ship in the entire game. Unfortunate that it is only available during these Black Friday events, and I realize in me making this video and saying all this praise on this ship, it might make you feel like you should buy it, but if you don't have the money to spend and throw away on video games like this, don't do it. It's not worth it. You're still gonna get salvos like this, guys. It's still gonna be frustrating, okay? This isn't gonna be the magical cure-all to your frustrations in World of Warships. It's still gonna be tilting at times. That's just the nature of online PvP games. But if you're willing to spend some money, I think Massachusetts is the pick, at least in this Black Friday sale. Richelieu coming forward, I noticed that he was charging in looking for a ram, so I decided to reverse a little bit more. And our Izumo charged in. I was like, okay, great. Izumo, I mean, sucks for him, but he's going to eat the ram, and that will be that. And then the Richelieu just ignores the Izumo and kind of splits the difference and starts to turn back towards me. Almost like he decided to ram the PQ guy, not just any battleship that got close to him. Anyways, that kind of broke me a little bit. I did not understand that while playing. But moving on, he's now coming out. And you'll notice our positioning here is really, really powerful. I was using the islands to my left there to prevent the North Carolina and the Minnesota from shooting me at all when dealing with this Richelieu and this Gneisenau. At this point, we are still preventing the Minnesota from shooting at us, but the NC has some angles, and we're going to have to worry about that soon enough. Unfortunately, our Zemo does go down here, so that does leave us kind of alone. Carrier is around as well. While our AA is decent, it's not going to do anything to really prevent a carrier from killing you, so keep that in mind. Even if you spec for it, it's really not good enough to do that. Unfortunately, again, not getting much damage on this guys now, but still, decent start to the game, over 100k, over 200 secondary hits. That's what we like to see. Guys now turning out now, so we will aim a little bit higher. Secondaries do shoot more often these days, I will say. And we get a lucky fire with those secondaries as well. That's not always going to happen either. But secondaries these days have been buffed a little bit here and there since their nerf with the Commander rework a few years ago. They do have better aim, I would say, especially against destroyers. They lead them properly now instead of just missing behind them all the time, as well as just shooting over islands more consistently. It's still a little weird on how it works, but a little more consistently. I was intending to stop here because pushing out broadside onto a Gneisenau, North Carolina, having to angle to all these guys, massive crossfire, as well as the carrier torpedoes. But now that the Gneisenau's dead, I decided to push out. I really want to prevent this North Carolina from ramming our Iowa. A lot of ramming attempts in this one. As soon as it's battleships only, it seems like everyone just charges into ram for some reason. But hey, we will try and prevent that as much as we can. Full health Iowa does need to live if we have any hope in this game. Notice we're way down on points. And we're going to barely avoid 2 of the 3 torpedoes. So we'll take 1. But notice it did hardly any damage. That's that torpedo protection helped us out a lot. Massachusetts having those fast cooldown heals means pretty much always we're getting through those heals, assuming we're positioning correctly. That's why we're taking those 5 heals. It's very, very useful. No Citadel that time, but still, we have had some pretty dice hits there into that North Carolina finally. And he does go down before getting that ram. Very close, but still, he does go down into this Minnesota now. We do want to stay a little further away. That's kind of the secret to these secondaries. They only pen superstructures, really. So if we're too close, the secondaries are all just going to hit his belt, because that's where secondaries aim on ships. They aim for the Citadel. That'd be another change, if possible, if Wargaming's listening at all. Change the secondaries to aim for superstructure. That'd be a nice change, although maybe they're too strong already. We'll see. But that is a Halsey Confederate, by the way. If you do have Halsey, moving him over to the Massachusetts can be a good idea. Run him on your Annapolis or Des Moines or something like that. And then, of course, you have a battleship slot available. Premium battleship, just move him over for free. And yeah, Halsey Confederate's very, very good on these things. The secondaries, the main guns being a 20-second reload, just ridiculously powerful. And this Minnesota is getting chewed up by, well, both our secondaries and our main guns. But the secondaries are doing great damage. When a battleship is in these sorts of ranges, you're going to hit a lot of shells. And again, that shell velocity is going to allow them to mostly hit superstructure, even though the aim point isn't exactly where we would like, aiming towards the Citadel. So that's where you want Massachusetts. At closer ranges, you'd probably be better off with a Bismarck or Tirpitz with IFHE, getting those secondaries to pen 32 millimeters of armor, because it'll hit the belts and the bow and stern, that kind of thing. But at these mid to longer ranges, the accuracy is very, very nice to have. So Massachusetts does perform quite well with these secondaries. And in fact, the fire finishes them off. 210,000 damage already, and we're not done. We're still losing this game. A lot of work put in, and we are still not winning. So Aegir pushing in. He's got a massive 27 millimeter bow, so we will just overmatch right through that. This should be pretty easy to deal with here. And Aegir doesn't really have the best DPM. Assuming we angle, we're not going to take too much from his armor piercing. So it really is the Georgia and the Tirpitz and that Lexington that we're going to have to worry about. Iowa's a little closer, though, so probably the attacks go his way. But we do want to finish off this Aegir as quickly as we possibly can. Assuming we get good dispersion. We will see. He did get a fire on us. We will let that burn. We only really want to damage con double fires. So, okay, double fire. We will damage con that. Still have 2 heals left. Not too big a deal. Again, we should just overmatch right through his bow. Very easily do a bunch of damage. Assuming we hit shells. We ourselves get a lucky double fire, though. So maybe RNG is just having a field day, I suppose. But yeah, not hitting him very reliably at all. Our RNG in this game has been kind of poor when it comes to the main guns, I guess. Some of these salvos have been just really, really, really bad. And he does get a permanent fire on us. So that could be us dead if he gets another one, because our damage control is not up for another 50 seconds. Heal 30 seconds away. That is not looking so good. Finally, we get another fire on him. And again, bow on. Come on. Yeah, I mean, sure, we're at 230k, but I'm allowed to be frustrated at those salvos because that was terrible. Oh my goodness. But we're still alive, barely. Again, we do need to live and kill off this Georgia Interpret if we want to win this game. Really have no hope of catching Lexington, at least I don't, so I'm gonna go after these guys. Little better dispersion this time. Georgia decides to go broadside to us, and we get a Citadel. Okay, RNG swinging back in our favor. We will take it. 250,000 damage, 447 secondary hits. That's a lot. But we're still not winning this game. Got to kill this Tirpitz, who's kiting, so a little bit difficult to deal with, but that superstructure is rather large on a Tirpitz, and we have much better armor, smaller superstructure in that than a Tirpitz, so we should be okay here, especially because the Iowa is going to be helping us, as well as the carrier. And he gets a pretty good hit into us for that angle and where those shells landed. Again, just shoot a superstructure. At these ranges, it shouldn't be too difficult to do. That looks like a pretty good dispersion salvo, so we should get some decent damage here. Yeah, not too much. We're really focused on staying alive at this point, so you're going to notice I'm angling in here. I'm using my acceleration here to try and slow down, speed up, that kind of thing. Gets another nice hit into our superstructure. This is not looking good, but we're still going to try to make use of this rudder shift to hopefully dodge the next salvo. That is the potential strength of a Massachusetts here. We're trying to use it to our strength. Whether or not we actually can survive, I don't know. Okay, Tirpit's a little lower, but slow down, turn in. Look at how quickly we can change direction here. So even at, what, 13 kilometers, we can juke a shot pretty well. It's not going to happen for every salvo, of course. You do lose a lot of momentum when you do that, but it did juke the salvo just enough. We get another salvo, and it is just bad. Yeah, there's nothing else to call that. That is just awful. So you're getting the full package of the Massachusetts in this video. You're seeing just how bad that dispersion can be, and yet we still have a great game. We're surviving longer than we probably should, and that's kind of the Massachusetts for you. It's a very weird ship to play. We do take him out, and he, in return, takes us out. A little annoying dispersion throughout this game, but still a very, very excellent match. Best one ever in this one, and Lexington does go down, and we win. We somehow come back to win that game. Kind of crazy. 4 kills, nearly getting the Kraken in this one, and the 12 fires all coming from the secondary. So even if our main gun dispersion wasn't good, we did get great RNG on those secondaries, allowing for us to get a lot of damage out of them. Let's see. Team score 3.3k base, 3.5. That is really, really nice to see. And look at that secondary damage, 63k, and then another nearly 30 from fires, which could have been more considering we got 12 fires on battleships, but still, insane game, and really shows you what the Massachusetts can do if you get the right matchmaker. So here in the Black Friday shop, we can see the Massachusetts 9,000 doubloons. I think that is a really good price for this thing. And that's going to be one of the main reasons why. I think this is, if you're going to spend money, this is going to be the one to get, in my opinion. Notice the tier 9s go down to only a 15% off. So it's like, what, you're paying 50% more, maybe even more, to get to a tier 9 compared to one of these tier 8s. Massachusetts, I mean, I have more fun in Massachusetts than in a Jean Bart or a Pommern or things like that. But we will discuss what's available here probably tomorrow. Just to give you guys a little better idea of what I would spend some money on, depending on how many ships you're willing to buy, how much you're willing to spend, that kind of thing. But Massachusetts for now, yeah, it's just so good. It's so good, man. But I should show you the build that we're running. Of course, Halsey with that Confederate bonus. Very, very nice. 20% reload on those main guns is wonderful. I'm running Gunfeeder. I didn't use it in this game so much because we weren't dealing with the higher tier angled battleships as much. There was opportunities for broadsides, so I'm going to take those with AP, but into up tiers, sometimes this can be very useful. Well, against destroyers. I'm also running Vigilance here. We could be taking things like Grease the Gears, Brisk, not as much. IFHE isn't really all that useful here on these secondaries just because you only spend 21 here. You're not going to get anything valuable out of IFHE, so it's something else. And Vigilance, to not eat as many torpedoes is nice, although got very fortunate to kill the sub early and not have to deal with any other destroyers, really. Both secondary upgrades here we're taking. Fire prevention, of course, it's just too good. And Yeah, we're taking emergency repair experts. Sometimes I'll swap over to close quarters combat or concealment if I'm really going to full send in like a ranked scenario, but these fast acting heals, the cooldown on them just allows you to get through them. So it's really a good pickup on these battleships, just because at 40 seconds is not too bad to get through. The upgrades here, again, secondary build is what we're going for. You can't even run like a main gun accuracy build here, so secondaries all the way, very easy to just spec into that. I'm running propulsion mod here. Notice we're only taking 1 out of the 3 in that case. I'm kind of relying on the heals to deal with the fires more so, although you saw later in this game that, yeah, that permanent fire took us pretty low, so maybe running damage control system mod 2 would help out with that. But then again, the extra maneuverability here is just wonderful. Anytime you're maneuvering around islands, anytime you need to start quickly from a stop, it's just great. And then, yeah, 710 meter turning radius. That's ridiculous. That's so good. Like, what does a Cleveland have? 660. You're very close to what a Cleveland has. A DD, 620. Like, I mean, you're less than 100 meters worse. 90 meters worse turning radius than a kid, like the DDs. Like, that's crazy. So very, very nice maneuverability. Of course, 53% torque protection is just awesome, especially because it covers a lot of the ship. That's very handy to have. The armor is decent. Still a lot of 32, but 38 mil deck, and then the Citadel being basically below water. It's waterline, but yeah, very hard to hit. So very tanky ship overall, and a lot of fun to play. And it's probably still my favorite. Tier 8 Matchmaker can suck at times, though. So it's not always going to perform this well, but as you can see, even into some Tier 9 games, we can do quite well. Anytime there's a Brawl or a ranked season at Tier 8, Massachusetts is going to be a great pick anyway. So if you're in the market for a premium, I understand that this game is very, very expensive, and it's a very slippery slope where you can convince yourself to spend hundreds of dollars very, very quickly. So don't feel like you have to, but if you're interested in a premium from the Black Friday sale, I do think Massachusetts is going to be the best bet because it's just so good. And it's really the only time to get it throughout the year. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and have a great rest of your day.